personality. Appreciate you. I am honored to have you share space with me. Today we're talking about hurt people hurt. What does that mean? Look, there are many times in life where people come at us hard. We somehow, get lambasted, roasted, ripped into, whatever framework you want to call that. And it makes you feel like a piece of shit. And sometimes I'm here to tell you, it's not always you. Sometimes it's them. And it takes courage, awareness, and practice to choose how you want to show up and respond. Now, I'm going to share a story with you. I'm a storyteller, and the way that things land for me is real. They happen to me. I lived through it, and I'll tell you what I learned and how I got through it. In case you don't already know, I'm aside from some of the other things I do, I choose to coach U16 boys ice hockey team, and while we're sort of at the end of our season now, we haven't yet won the championship. We are well on our way, and I have so much faith in these young athletes. This is relevant as one of our athletes was experiencing less than desirable. He was compromised. He was put in a situation that he really felt tremendously uncomfortable. And this generated some concern from his parents, of course. Now, there was an email sent out with some concerns that needed to be addressed. And, well, what could have easily occurred, and this is real, I mean, think of yourself if you've been in this position, it could have been really easy to read the email, become emotionally charged, and fire back right away, discounting, discouraging, rebuttaling every sort of point that was there, and I could have beat on my chest and said, fuck, I feel good now, because I showed him. Not so. Or peel back and go, what's really going on here? Because hurt people hurt. Which really means that we know if somebody's angry, beneath the anger is sadness. And what are they truly sad about? This is real. So rather than firing back right away, I dug in a little bit. I chose to connect and learn everything I could learn. Find out the relevant information, ask the right questions, connect with the right people. And when I was persistent enough and continue, and listen, here's the other thing. I'm not here to sort of volley over and say, look at me, look at all the great things I do. No, not at all. I want to be vividly clear that I'm sharing this story in the event. I'm sharing this relevant story in hopes that something resonates with you. If I can share a nugget that worked for me and it serves well for you and it resonates, then high five, team. Then we've done what we're supposed to do. I'm here to help amplify you, to make you a better person, to make those around you better. So, well, it could have been easy to armor up and bite back. I chose not to. I chose to learn. And after being persistent and creating an opportunity to speak to this individual, again, our conversation was harsh. It was one-sided. I was a punching bag, and truthfully, I felt like a piece of shit. And hung up the phone and thought, fuck. Yet, you know what's important? I chose to show up, to seek understanding, to actually become curious, to care about what was actually going on. Like, dig for what's not being said. We talk about these things, and I'm being honest with you. I do the hard work. I felt terrible. So I dug in. I did the work. I brain dumped. I talked to the people around me, because we all have great people in our lives that help pick us up when we're simply not at optimal performance. And during this conversation, again, it could have been really easy to yell and devalue and scream louder and make the individual on the other line feel like a piece of shit, and then hang up and gloat about it and tell everybody, oh, I really ripped into that guy and gave him a piece of my mind. For what? Who's that going to serve well for? Instead, I chose to seek to understand what's not being said, to seek to understand what it's like living in that person's world, the emotions, the experiences, to live through it all. Because beneath his anger was sadness. And I'm not going to get into the details. It's private. It's not fair for him. Except that when you show up with vulnerability because you actually give a shit about the person or the people involved in the scenario, man, does everything change. Man, how powerful it is to use the words, I understand you. That must suck. Tell me more about what's going on. And I'm not here to say this was fucking easy. It was awful. It was absolutely awful. It was a very much one-sided, highly emotionally charged conversation that anybody looking in would have thought, wow, Jonathan got a new asshole ripped into him. Sure. Like in the professional world, that happens all the time. We hear these words. And then for fucking what? Instead, I peeled back. I listened to learn. What the hell is actually going on? What is this human being upset about? And because of that, was able to bring the conversation from here right down to here. I gathered the facts and was able to separate the facts from the emotion. Here's what actually occurred. And then afterwards, I actually did the hard work. And I got the thoughts out of my head. And I wrote them down. It was almost like a little bit of therapy for me to really relive and see what the opportunity that I've missed. Where did I go wrong? How can I get better? How can I learn from it? And I picked up the phone and called those around me to say, this is what's going on. I'm not necessarily sure how to bob and weave and navigate through it yet. And I simply need a sounding board. So sometimes when people come at you strong, it's not you, it's them. And beneath all that rage and anger and emotion is somebody who's hurt. Is somebody who simply wants to be heard, seen, and understood. They simply want you to actually give a shit about what's going on in their life, what their experience is like. I didn't know what this gentleman's experience was like. I don't live his life. I don't live his family world. But I can tell you something. We've all learned something from it. Have we co-created a new reality? Perhaps. Maybe. Maybe not. And tell you what was able to do. We're able to park it. Like, look, we've now lived through this. We've done this. Let's move on to the next thing. And you know what the beautiful part was? I actually care. I was actually able to create an opportunity to connect with the athlete. And not, again, I'm not here to judge right and wrong in the scenario. Something happened. It was shitty. It was uncomfortable. It was what it was. We can't go back and change the past. We can live in the present moment. And we can choose how we want to respond, how we want to show up. Life is going to happen to you. How you respond is the most important thing. Showing up with vulnerability, actually caring, and making a difference changes the entire game. Hurt people hurt. Seek to understand what's actually going on, because beneath that anger and beneath that emotion is something more powerful. I'd like to add that I had to live through it as well. I had to go through a little bit of a process where I had to let things go, and I got angry. Again, I had to and I've actually vividly spoken, is that I'm angry, and I know beneath that sadness, beneath the anger is sadness, and here's what I'm actually sad about. And I'm actually sad that our team is a fucking phenomenal team. Or whatever the scenario is. I'm angry, and I'm actually sad that that deliverable wasn't met. I'm actually sad that our team is not performing. I'm actually, frame it however you need to frame it for your world. Talk to people around you. Find the information. Challenge your assumptions to find the truth so that you understand holistically everything involved. People are going to give you their unsolicited information all the time. Some of it's warranted. Much of it may not be. Sift through the sand. Find the gems. When you find what's actually going on, poof, is it mind-blowing. So thanks for listening. Hurt people hurt. Sometimes it's not you, it's them. And that doesn't dismiss you from the problem. In fact, that engages you to dig for what's not being said, to show up with compassion, sympathy, empathy if possible. And let them know that you actually care. You see them, you hear them, you understand them. Whether you agree with them or not is not what's important. You understand them. Man, does that change things. Have a great day. Thanks for hanging out.